And here's how this is going to work today. So, first of all, thanks for carving out, an hour of your time to hang out with us this morning. John and I are going to do our best to, we were in business together for about 5 years, and John was instrumental in helping us kind of realize this vision of, um, how do you scale a team where the team leader or team leaders in our case can step out of production fully. And so he was instrumental in helping us figure that out. And what that being said, what we realized is that many of you don't want to build, a larger organization or business, a real estate business or team. Some of you might think you don't want to, but you just don't know how to. And if you had a plan or a vision in place, then you could go execute on that, right? But some of you are just fine where you are. You just want to know how to scale within the framework of where you are. So we're going to do our best to kind of unpack that. What does it look like to go from, individual agent? Can you scale there? The answer is yes. What does it look like to be as efficient and profitable as possible? And then what do these different stages or evolution of growing a real estate company, what does it look like? Right? John, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I think just another way that I say the same thing when people ask all the time, they're like, John, I'm just not sure I want a mega team. We use the word mega team a lot, and that gets defined in some different ways. But a lot of people are like, hey, I don't want a mega team, but I haven't met any growth minded agent. And if you're not a growth minded agent, this probably isn't the call for you. I haven't met any growth minded agent who doesn't want mega team results, even if they want to only have a micro team organization. So mega team results is what everybody's looking for, and mega team results might be in your business, in your personal sales business. But as Clayton, as you start to describe this cash flow quadrant, the beauty of our business is that there are many other related income streams that can fall in different quadrants here that we can scale. So you don't have to have a large organization, but we will talk about that. That is definitely a way to leverage yourself.
Yep. Yep. Good. Yeah, and I think just to add to that. And by the way, guys, we're going to open this up for questions, and so please put them in the chat or just write them down. Um, when I think one of the more important variables of this for all of us really is time, because the one thing we know about the real estate industry is it will, if we let it, it will absorb our time as quick as any other small business. And that's the one thing that, at 50 years old is the most precious thing for me is, having two girls that are playing travel volleyball, fortunately married to my best friend and having a life outside of real estate. How do we really break free to have a business that runs profitably with or without us? That was kind of the unicorn for me, if you will. And so the journey started, and John, I don't know if it started here for you, but it did for me with, so I read Robert Kiyosaki's books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then Cashflow Quadrant. And then I was with Keller Williams for 12 years, frankly. And, we talked a lot about this at KW. And so what you're looking at, if you're not, and I know most of you or many of you are familiar with this, but if you're not, just a quick overview here. The distinction between the left side of the quadrant and the right side of the quadrant is on the left side of the quadrant, we have to trade our time for money. On the right side of the quadrant is the opposite of that, where money goes to work for us. When I discovered that 86% of the wealth in this country lives on the right side of the quadrant, I, of course, began to ask myself the question, well, how can I move? Well, first of all, uh, if we're in real estate, we've moved from being an employee to self-employed, where we own a job essentially. But I wanted to figure out, how can I move this over to this business owner quadrant, again, where 86% of the wealth really lives in this country. So that began this process for me. JT, same or no?
Yeah, absolutely the same. I think the first time, and I know many people on this call, and I know many of you have seen this before. I know for you and I, the very first time this happened, when we saw this, it was like, oh my gosh, there's this. I'm missing the right side, and I'm missing the lifestyle that the right side can provide. And that doesn't mean that the left side isn't important. Employees and self-employed people who own their job, that's an important function in the overall economy and certainly in our businesses. But to the right side, the more that we can shift day by day to the right side, the more that we're gonna experience freedom. And to me, that was where I found that was the key to that.
Yep. Yep. Okay. All right. Awesome. So as we kind of unpack this here, I think that for many of us, we start out, and JT, how about this? Like when I'm chatting, if you
I got it.
want, and I'll do the opposite. Okay, cool. So most of us start out on level one as an agent. I literally just got off of a Zoom call with an agent here in Virginia, and she wants to start this process of building a team. She's selling 30 to 40 homes a year by herself consistently for the past 10 years. And she's a tired mom, right? And so when John and I sat down and we started to think about this, we felt like there was a missing component to level one, if you will. And the missing component was because of technology and the virtual nature of business these days, we can hire a transaction coordinator very quickly when we start in this business. And I understand that the economics, you if you're starting out and you're like me, like I think I had very little money in the bank, and so I was counting every penny, right? But once I understood rather that an hour of my time in real estate when I'm focused on the dollar productive activities, and there are very few of them, is worth a significant amount of money. And so if I'm trading my time for $15 to $20 an hour tasks, that, again, I could give someone else an opportunity in a job, whether it's a virtual transaction coordinator or full time, to do that job better, absolutely better than I could. And so John and I believe that at level one, this is somewhere between 0 and 30 transactions, to outsource this as quickly as you can, so that you're staying in that zone where you're making $300, $400, $500 an hour or more, and then outsource. And by the way, Buy Back Your Time talks a lot about, the book talks a lot about this principle. John, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing is that you can pay these transaction coordinators at the end. So you only have to pay if you get paid. And then the other kind of expansion on transaction coordinators that's really started to happen over the last several years. Clayton and I built this in his team first, and both of our teams now. And actually, I did it in teams before also, is a listing coordinator. Somebody who can not just go from contract to close, but somebody who can go from, hey, I got the verbal commitment of the seller, somebody who can take that all the way through closing. Because we have two sales to make in our business. And the first one makes us the most money, and that sale is on us as an agent, right? So I've got to sell that client on me as their agent. And then selling their house is just really, if we're honest, it's really a process. It's a process that involves some skills, but it's a process that can be done the same for almost every house all the way to closing. But getting that, the money is made, the dollar per hour is made on selling that individual on me as the agent in that first sale. And to get a TC, you can pay at closing, and also a lot of agents join teams for this same reason, because teams already have that built in. It's built into your split or built in some other way to your financial model with a team. But a lot of times, a team leader will cover this when you're in the 0 to 30 transaction range. And we even started a company to outsource that. And so there's lots and lots of good options that you've got individual TCs who are licensed. You can go virtual. There's lots of options to do it. But the bottom line is what Clayton said. which is what I can pay somebody less per hour if I'll take that time and I'm disciplined enough to reallocate that time to generating more business, then this is just it's the first step. It's the very first step. A lot of what we're going to talk about today are things that you're going to want to create a vision for yourself for. We don't want to overwhelm you as we move into the next levels. It's often been said that we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years, right? This is something you can do right now. A lot of what we're going to talk about today, if you do want to scale, it may take some time, but this is a quick hit. Go find a TC, and take that workload off of yourself and use that time for prospecting. Or if you already have enough business and you're just completely overwhelmed and you need to take some of your time back, that's another reason to do exactly that.
Yeah.
But this is an easy, quick hit, and it really is a no-brainer for everyone. That's not meant derogatory. If you're like, hey, how does that work? It's just if you do your dollar per hour activities, if you measure your dollar worth per hour, like Clayton said, it just comes out to where if you use that time for prospecting and reallocate it, you're going to make more money doing that.
Well, and it tends to give us an excuse not to stay in that really high dollar per hour productivity quadrant, right? We feel like we're doing work, and we are, but we're doing work that we could pay someone $15 to $20 an hour to do, right? And so I just didn't want to give myself the excuse. Once I knew that the highest and best use of my time was lead generation, lead follow-up, and working with my seller clients, which, by the way, and we're going to talk more about this in just a second, which, by the way, was not my favorite thing to do in the business. My favorite thing to do was working with my buyer clients. That was my favorite thing to do. But I knew if I wanted to move into the business owner quadrant and become, run a business instead of having my business run me, I had to do the things that brought the highest return into the business. And I want to see your faces here when I ask this question. So how many of you, Jorge, Deborah, Nicole, Matt Kane, Joe, Charlene, how many of you consider yourself the best sign installer in your market? Show of hands. No, I didn't see any hands. That's okay. How many, like the best lockbox hanger in your market? No. Okay, so why are you doing it? Frank, yeah, Frank's a good lockbox hanger. There you go, bud. Yeah, and so again, this is about letting go, and just staying in that zone. Your business typically will double every time you add leverage. Okay, and that leverage could be TC, it could be a sales partner. Now, John, do you want to touch on real quick? What does it look like if somebody's like, you know what, Clayton, this is great, but I just want to scale right here in level one. What does that look like?
Yeah, it just looks like whatever you're doing if you're installing any signs or installing any lock boxes or entering anything into MLS or doing so my very first coach, when I got into the industry in the early 2000s, he was spending 20 hours a week doing his real estate business, selling 600 homes a year. He was spending the other 20 hours a week coaching. And my first question, I remember this from 20 years ago, and it's still relevant today. What was he doing in those 20 hours that he was spending in his real estate business? And because clearly he wasn't doing everything involved with selling 600 homes. And you know what he was doing? He was doing what we would call today inside sales. He was setting appointments. And his argument, and this just blew my mind, his argument was, your highest dollar per hour activity is it's not showing homes. It's certainly not installing lock boxes or putting signs in the yard. Your highest dollar per hour activity is connecting with people, talking to people, and setting appointments. And when we remember that our income producing activities, right, where it comes down to those things, prospecting, negotiating, and selling, and you can even hire a team to negotiate and sell. But the three most important things that we're doing is prospecting, negotiating, and selling. And if what we're doing is not one of those three things, then it's not making us money. And of course, content is prospecting, right? But it's that dollar per hour activity to be able to prospect, negotiate, and sell. That's the highest dollar per hour activity. That's what he was doing. The other
Yeah.
thing that I want to also acknowledge, again, we got a lot of team leaders who are on the call, and so this is kind of 101 for you team leaders. And the thing that they all know, if you're not a team leader, and this is something you're still processing and thinking about, what every team leader on the call can tell you who has coached any agent before. We coach agents to prospect. And the ones who are willing to do the work, they prospect, and they put their blood, sweat, and tears as they launch a career into getting their first clients. And then when they get their first clients, they generally get them in like 2 or 3, maybe more at a time. And then the number one mistake that every agent makes is what Clayton kind of nodded to a little earlier, which is then I go service that client because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. Like it just feels like that's what I'm supposed to do. And yes, you have to service the client, but not at the expense of stopping the prospecting, negotiating, and selling, because then that creates the valley, right? The peak is we spun the flywheel, we got it moving, we got the momentum going, and then every single agent I've ever coached has a natural propensity to go service the clients they have, and then they wake up 30 to 60 days, maybe 90 days later, and realize that, oh my gosh, I don't have another client now. I closed that deal or those deals, and I don't have another client now. And it's consistent in our industry. And this is the solution to that, because you can't do it all even from day one. You need to understand the process, but you don't need to do the entire process.
Yeah. That's a really, really good point, John. And it's the thing that I've thought about it at age 50 now, because life has happened a few times to me, as it happened to many of you, is what happens to our businesses when we go down, right? Or heaven forbid that we just want to take some time off, right? Like the wheel just stops turning, and I just refuse to do that. And that's, again, one of the many reasons why why John and I continue to build this. So as we transition from level 1 to level 2, and by the way, this is, I don't think James Ney is on the call, but this is kind of where James Ney is. For those of you that know who he is, we did a mastermind with him a few months ago, and James is doing about 250-ish, if not more, home sales per year by himself. Okay, he's the only salesperson on the team with multiple transaction coordinators. And I don't know if he's using a showing assistant model or not, John, but he has multiple 3 or 4 full-time transaction coordinators. So he very much runs this like a high efficient doctor's office or a dental practice, and he's the surgeon. And his TC, or his administrative team, his ops team, they're literally doing everything. He's front and center, writing and negotiating contracts and lead generating. That's it. 250 plus home sales per year by himself. Now, he does not have a life. And James, if you're here, you watch this later, you have admitted that, so I can say that. He's working 7 days a week, right? So you can only sustain that for a certain period of time. So at level 2, we begin to leverage our time with multiple transaction coordinators. The whole idea here is to get to a point, and John, you said this a couple minutes ago, where you just can't take it anymore, right? As you're scaling, it's like, I cannot take this anymore. And then you bring on, and I've got, John, multiple people that I'm talking to right now. I don't have a formal coaching business like you do. By the way, John has a formal coaching business for team leaders, for anybody that is interested, and he kicks butt. But where you hire a showing assistant that transitions into a showing partner, or just a straight sales partner, rather, at this stage, that's up to you. We have gotten away from this, John, where we are now just hiring sales partners, but we have our sales partners show for our other sales partners, and we have a model and a system behind that. But the point is to start to leverage this part right here, because we can successfully work with 20 or 30 seller clients at a time, if you've got the administrative team behind you, there's no way we can service that many like ready, willing, and able buyer clients. That just drive us absolutely insane. John.
Yeah, so definitely this is the first step for someone who's actually thinking about scaling a team, and this is where we found most agents are, is they're kind of in that 30 to 100 place where they know they can sell real estate and they want to scale that real estate. You know how to lead generate. You didn't do 30 transactions a year without understanding lead generation. You maybe still have more to learn, and you may obviously, the best leaders are just like the best team members, humble, hungry, and smart. So you don't know it all, but you have a feeling that there may be something to this business, and you want to grow it, you want to scale it, you want to move to at least some of your business to the right side of the quadrant where other people are doing the activities that make money for you. And that's where you start the process of hiring sales partners. And Clayton, I 100% agree. Showing assistants are a full-time showing assistant is a very unique position that I don't recommend to most team leaders. It's just start hiring sales partners. And people ask, like, am I ready? Well, if you're doing consistently 3 to 5 transactions a month on your own, then yes, you're ready. And Clayton and I have taught on this often about the number of sales partners to hire, and that's at least 3. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But part of that model is it's kind of a self-fulfilling model when you have a recruiting pipeline. If you are growing, the newer agents, part of their learning experience is on the job training as a showing assistant. Your experienced agents, including yourselves on your teams, you need somebody to go open doors for inspections. And for a buyer client who's already signed buyer agency, but they just need to go see some homes, you don't have to be the one to show them. That's what the showing assistant is for. And so that is built in, and it doubles as experience for the sales partner. And if you are scaling a team, that works out perfectly. And then just the biggest thing that I would say about transaction coordinators, this is absolutely the point where you want, if you don't already have a listing coordinator, you want somebody who's hitting that listing checklist so that all of your listings are consistently marketed and processed and serviced the same way every time. And you don't want to grow a lot of sales partners until you don't want to move beyond this level until you have these positions in place.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what it looks like to kind of transition from level 3 to level 2. Now, just to point out this, you can stay here and have a very leveraged, profitable business. You can camp out right here, ladies and gentlemen, with 5 to 10 sales partners, 30 to 100 transactions or more, right? Depending on how much you want to work. Or you can take this to level 3. Now, at level 3, you'll notice that you're adding a few pieces to the puzzle here, and you are adding sales partners. Now, I want to touch on this sales partners piece. I was talking to a team leader last week, and she said she spent like 4 hours in a home inspection, and she's been doing this for 30 years, and she's amazing. Clients love her, and she's like, I can't do it anymore. Like it's 4 hours of my time. She was like, Clayton, can I hire that out? And the answer is, of course you can, right? And sales partners can be doing that for you, right? When you have a little army of the right people, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. When you have a little army of the right people that are aligned with your core values, that are out there showing houses, sitting in home inspections, and they're making money, of course, but then they're pouring a percentage of that back into the business. And John, you alluded to this. I want to make sure that, because we have some team members on this call. Dave Wright is on this call, who took apart his team to partner with our team, for example, because he just was tired of being responsible for all the stuff. So you can absolutely plug into a team that's doing this at a very high level, that has all of these pieces of the puzzle in place, that you don't have to go build it, right? But at level 3, you can see now that you've got that listing manager that John talked about. Absolutely. Now you've got a courier. You have someone that is out there because your business between 100 and 200 transactions, you've got a lot of listings going on. You're dropping off flyers, you're dropping off lock boxes, you're having signs delivered, and you can outsource that, by the way. But having somebody that can go do that for you at this stage, you never want to be putting lock boxes on a door ever. Okay, that's $15 an hour activity, $20 an hour activity. Okay, ever. You never want to be delivering flyers to a property. You certainly never want to be banging a sign in somebody's yard at this level. And then you've got your closing manager and multiple sales partners at this point. John.
Yeah, so I just want to really quick make sure that we have there's a pretty solid definition between level 2 and level 3, and when you're visioneering your business, you want to decide, do I want to be level 2 or level 3, or level 3 and possibly beyond. Level 2 is a micro team that is very profitable. The beauty of level 2 is that you're going to know everybody, you're going to feel good, it's going to feel more like a family than a business, although you can absolutely scale a mega team that way also, but it's going to be easier. You're going to have kind of a family feel. Everybody's going to know you. These are going to be all people you know, but you're going to be very actively engaged in the business. And it's going to be it can be, if you manage it well, it can be very profitable for you. You can, in your real estate team, you can take home, depending on your market and depending on your exact sales volume, you're between $500,000 and $1 million profit can be made by maximizing this level. $1 million is high on it. $500,000 is good on at this level. The issue is you're still on the left side of the quadrant, and you just have to realize that you can get on the right side of the quadrant. We'll talk about multiple streams of income later in the slide deck, but you can start to get on the right side of the quadrant through other businesses. Just understand that if you decide to be a micro team with mega team results, then you're always gonna be involved in the business on the left side. Level 3 is where you say, hey, I'm all in. I'm going to scale this business with the intent of having a business someday that runs without me. And if that's the boundary or the transition or the threshold between level 2 and level 3.
Yep. Good. Okay. So as we transition to level 4, you can see some key pieces showing up here. Here's the big one. Okay, and this was the hardest one, for me to let go of. That's not entirely true. It was actually difficult for me to let go of buyers, and if some of you may be thinking this, I've got these relationships with my clients. Are they going to trust somebody else as much as they trust me? Am I going to lose opportunities because they only want to work with me? And I have one definitive thought there, and you just have to be okay with that. Now, first of all, again, as you're defining, and this is a whole nother mastermind, but John and I run our businesses off of Traction or EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. I know many of you do as well. And in that, you're defining your mission statement, you're defining your core values, and your core values become the filter that you push certainly your people decisions through. And if you can't push them through that core value filter, they're not a good fit. So we're hiring self-managed, self-motivated people. We're hiring the right people that are aligned with our core values. And if they somehow squeak through that core value filter, you got to get rid of them really quickly because they can burn the ship down, right? So at level 4, this is where you start to think very seriously about, okay, I need to start transitioning some of my sellers because you've basically moved away from working with any buyers at all, okay, at this point. And now you're starting to think about transitioning some of your seller clients to a listing partner who will later become, as you'll see, multiple listing partners. And that's where this thing gets really fun because what we focus on expands. And then you've got team captains or mentors or squad leaders, whatever you want to call it, that are, these are just mature sales partners that are incentivized to help the sales manager out as you continue to scale because the sales manager can't do it all. If you saw this one other piece that popped up here, ISAs are inside sales agents. And John, I'm going to pause there and let you pick up.
Yeah. So let me just go back a little bit and then I'll pick up and move forward. The listing partner transition that Clayton started to talk about there, that is those are the highest dollar leads that we pay for, listings. We all of us know that you list to last, right? And our listings are one of the most valuable indicators of our one of the biggest indicators of the value of our business. We don't want to lose listings. So transitioning your listing appointments is a very big mental block for a lot of us. But I promise you, if you learn how to do that and do it well, you will. It'll change your business and it'll change your life. It's the piece that most team leaders don't let go of because it's the riskiest part to let go of. We have a term. We have some friends that call it something else. I've started calling it the face slap. When people who try to get out of production, and this is the last piece, right? When you only and when I say out of production, I only mean that you don't, this is the level where you decide the clients you want to work with. You might be like Clayton, but what we found is most people aren't like Clayton. Clayton's okay with never working with a buyer or seller again personally, as long as he has a team who loves doing that for him. Many of you want to just work, many of you are kind of like me, where you just want to work with the people you want to work with. And you'll always sell a couple dozen homes a year just with people that you want to work with. It helps you stay relevant and all the things in your business. But either way, at this level, you're going to need a listing partner who can take some of those listings. And that transition is super important. We can provide some resources on that if you'd like. Team captain and mentors, those are two different things. Clayton, you recently coined that, I think, that team captain or started using that. I love that. We called it a squad leader when we work together. I do think those are two separate functions that can be done by the same person. These people are in production. Their number one purpose on your team is their own production. Their own production. And so I think as leaders, sometimes we think, oh, well, we don't want to give leadership responsibility to somebody who is who we're worried about their sales going down. That is true, but you also don't want to give leadership responsibility to somebody who doesn't know how to sell real estate at a high level. These are the best of your team members. These are the introduction to their leadership of your team. And these people are, I would argue that these people are your number one investment as a leader in your team. This is your inner circle, your team captain and mentors. These are the people you invest the most of your time because they're producing the most as salespeople and they're coaching other salespeople on your team, coaching them up. And then, of course, the sales managers included in that. Now, ISAs, inside sales agents, are a very hard hire. And there is a transition in our industry right now that is moving from people-based ISAs to AI-based ISAs. I call them AISAs. And the future is yet to be really known for sure what that looks like. But my team and myself, my co-owner of my team is Adam Bennett. He's on the call here. Our belief is that you can absolutely have a traditional inside sales agent who all they do is smile and dial both inbound and outbound calls and DMs and texts. You can have people that do that for sure, and you need something doing that. You either need people or you need technology doing it. I believe that the needle is moving to where the technology is going to take the place of most of that. If you don't have inside sales agents, your sales partners are your inside sales agents, and so are you. And so you just have to kind of decide where you're going with that. But what I can tell you for sure is that if you don't have people and or technology dedicated to doing prospecting of people they don't know, your best team model will be to have those people and then to allow your sales partners they still have to do follow-up, they still have to do prospecting, but the boundary between ISAs and sales partners, and this is really important, guys, the boundary is people they know versus people they don't know. So the ISAs can take your leads, convert them into appointments so that your sales partners now know these people because they've had an appointment with them. They don't have to know them well, they just know them. And so now the sales partner takes over. Before that, the ISA is in play. And of course, sales partners should do ISA activities and should be trained on that. But what we found after decades of running teams is that the sales partners who must be great at the face-to-face appointment, most of them are not as good at prospecting on the phone, DMing, and texting. Obviously, the most productive agents in our industry are good at both. Most agents are not good are not great at both, but you can find people for each position there.
Yep. Yeah, just to point out, sales manager typically will come from within ours. Sarah Hutchinson, one of our top producers, came from within. You see the administrative manager shows up here as well. And by the way, these people are weird in all the right ways.
Yes.
And it's why, to find somebody that will just sit there. Matt Kane is on the call. I saw you. Matt Kane is weird in all of the right ways because he will sit there and he will make calls all day if he had to. If he doesn't have to anymore, but he will sit there and just smile and dial all day, 5 days a week. Okay, because he's a high D, and it's just his personality. To John's point, a lot of agents don't want to do that. Now, John, we have played with this for many years. We continue to play with it. We're using artificial intelligence, but we're also we want our agents to understand the art of generating business and following up so that they know how to fish, right, as well. So to your point,
1,000%.
I believe in absolutely having both. All right. So 2 more levels here, guys. At level 5, you're going to see we're just adding layers to this, and we're expanding. Instead of just having, for example, 1 team captain or a mentor, now we have 2, possibly 3. You can go to 3 to 500 transactions. This is 30 plus sales partners. Now, to speak into, one of the, John and I discovered that the reason that you see most boutique broker owners never leave production is because they can't. They have, a handful of sales partners or agents within their boutique brokerage, and for profitability reasons, they cannot leave production. And so, what we discovered in our market, at least, that you got to be around. Depending on what your economics, it could be less. For us, it was around 20 sales partners to get both of us reasonably, when John and I were working together, both of us reasonably out of production. Me definitely out of production, and then John well on his way a few short months after that. And so the point is, and this is the hard part for many of us, and for many of you that are watching this. The name of the game at this level, your job is no longer a realtor. Your job, it becomes you're a marketer at this level. And what I mean by that is you're marketing for buyers and sellers for your team and for agents to join your organization. Okay, so that marketing is you're recruiting through your marketing. Okay, that becomes your job at this level, because in order to scale, and inevitably, when you have a lot of people, you're going to have some, doesn't matter how good your culture is, you are going to have some turnover. And so we're always marketing and recruiting at this. And this is the phase, I think, John, where a lot of people get stuck because they don't want to have to recruit. Well, I'd rather market, right, and quote unquote recruit at this point in my life than work with buyer and seller clients, right? JT.
Yeah, so I would just add, I would put an exclamation mark on everything you just said, and add that you are a marketer and leader. And you cannot run an organization of this size without upping your leadership skill. John Maxwell, arguably the number 1 leadership guru in really in all of leadership teaching and coaching. He talks about the law of the lid. That's one of his 21 laws of leadership. It's a classic book. It's been revised. If you haven't picked it up as a leader, pick it up. 21 laws of leadership. He talks about the law of the lid. And the law of the lid is that if I'm a 5 on a scale of 10 as a leader, I'm only ever going to attract and retain 5 or below on the same scale. So my people are they're going to outgrow me, and they're going to leave me if I don't increase my own leadership capacity. And Clayton and I talked a lot about this when we worked together. We talk about a lot about it now, is that we have got to, if you want to scale a large team, you've got to grow yourself so that the opportunity for your agents, it gets greater and greater every year. If you don't grow yourself, the opportunity for your agents will not get greater and greater every year. And listen, like, that's okay. They're just going to go somewhere else, and you're going to have you're going to run through the same cycle of agents every year or so. Maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years, and you're going to wonder why they're always leaving. One of the things I'm most proud of on our team is that we had 8 agents that were, and Clayton, you probably got more now. We had 8 agents who were between $150,000 and $300,000 net take-home pay at a 54% average split. Net take-home pay. And if the split doesn't matter so much, the only reason I share that is because it was still profitable for the team, and the agents were building what we've labeled here legacy group, right? The agents are building a legacy. And so if you have agents who are career level agents on your team, you've got to develop those people at this level, and that will attract more agents. One of your biggest recruiting tools will be, hey, I've got multiple agents on my team who are making big income without expenses, and it's because of what we provide.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, we could go, guys, we could, spend a whole hour on each one of these slides, but this legacy group is something that John and I developed together. We've done our own little iteration on it, and JT, I'm sure you have as well. But this is now open to the entire organization, and I should have put our admin team, our ops team as well. And that is once a month. We get together, and then we have a mid-month check-in where we go really deep on spiritual, physical, financial, relationship, legacy building, of course, business. And because, if you've been doing this long enough, you know that the harder that we work on ourselves, everything else just becomes, this business just gets easier and easier if we're dialed in on all of the core fundamental areas. So pouring into our team on a monthly basis, and we just had a guy that it was health and wellness this past week for our monthly run. And we had a guy come in that had an incredible physical transformation, and he shared that with the team. And it was, you could see the light bulb going off for a lot of, because the way that we feel about ourselves matters, right? So again, we could unpack that in a whole session. And then finally is this unicorn, right? John, you alluded to this, that, I jumped into this, Gary Keller calls it level 7. Right. So you go in, you go out, you go in, you go out. And, what finally clicked for me was, and John, you said this so well. When I discovered that if I didn't keep working on myself, and it's the blessing of this whole thing, guys, like, as we are growing this business and we're just investing in ourselves, and then we're reinvesting into our people. And it's like this, you're doing this, your ballers are going to be working on themselves as well. So it's just really cool. All the lids are raising at that point. And so that's a gift of doing this, in my opinion. But here's where, at this level, you can reasonably step out. Not entirely. I don't think you're ever stepping out entirely, because this, as you'll see here in just a minute, this is the hub of all of these other opportunities. But you can really start to focus on other businesses, things that you're really passionate about, and create more verticals, profitable verticals, in your world, because this is running in that right side upper quadrant now as a true business. And you can see it's just level 4 and level 5 have now been expanded. Multiple team captains, multiple listing partners. I think we're up to 5 now. The sales manager is still at the core of this. And then as the owner, I spend a lot of time, as I said, I spend a lot of time with this person here. And then of course, I've got my eye on financials. JT, what do you have to say about this?
I love everything you said, and I want to go back to what we talked about on that threshold between level 2 and level 3. Level 2 being where you're still doing most of the production, and you want it to be that way, and your business depends on you to do most of the production. You can do these other businesses that are on the left hand side. Is that the left? Yeah, that's the left. On the left hand side, you can do those other businesses, but you won't have the time capacity to be able to do them at an accelerated pace. And so if you put in the hard work on the team and you get the team to a level 6 production, then you're going to be able to kind of dial into that entrepreneurial spirit that you have to go all in on these businesses for seasons. And you're going to see an opportunity and you're going to be like, okay, we're going to spend the next 12 weeks building this business while our team continues to run itself. We're going to continue to put gas on the fire, but it doesn't need all the gas that you have in your tank because you've built a business that has moved to the right side of the quadrant. And so you definitely can and should build additional verticals, other related real estate businesses, and even outside of real estate. Maybe you're into crypto investing, or maybe you're into whatever. You can do those things, but having a business that runs itself profitably gives you more time capacity. And listen, if you're looking at this and you're like, hey, I'm doing 10% of that volume right now. This is where that thing that I said earlier, where we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10. Guys, this is especially with resources that are available today. It won't take you 10 years to get here. It might take you 3 to 5 years to get here. And like, just think about how old you are today, add 3 to 5, and in the scheme of your lifetime, is it really a big difference? How long are you going to thank yourself for making the investment in becoming a better leader and in fulfilling your vision?
Yes. Yeah. And I heard this the other day, and then I read this morning, this other thing this morning. What I heard the other day was, do what no one else is willing to do today, so that later you can do what no one else can.
Yes.
Right. And it's this stuff, whether you're by yourself, like solo agent, it's hard. Right. Or you're going to do this. It's hard. You just got to pick your hard. And then I read this morning, one of my favorite books. I reread it every year. It's Mark Batterson's Chase the Lion. And he said, mismanaged success. I shared this with my girls this morning, and they're like, huh? Mismanaged success is the leading cause of failure, but managed failure is the leading cause of success. And that's back to what we said in the beginning about, man, this is just all about failing faster and failing forward and managing that failure. And then eventually you wake up, and not that it's all like, rainbows and, unicorns. It's not. But neither was working and responding to text messages when I was in church every Sunday for many years. Like that was not fun. And my wife didn't appreciate that. Right. So you just got to pick your heart here. And just to wrap up, and we'll open it up for questions, just remember that your real estate business, as you scale, becomes the hub for all of these additional opportunities. Doors start to open up with vendor relationships, with mortgage, with title, with insurance, with a investment division. We personally have a property management company, and there's synergy in all of these. They feed one another. And that starts to spill into these other verticals that we were talking about as well. And when you have the time, because what we focus on expands, when you have the time to focus on these other profit centers, then they hopefully are growing, and they're providing more profit and more opportunities for other people as well. Okay. Questions. We're gonna open this, and anything you have, please feel free to throw it out there. I see there might be one in the box. 3 to 5 years to level 6, motivating. Yes, Jorge. Yes, sir. All right, here we go. What are the so guys, what are the challenges when you look at this? Where are you like, oh my gosh, Clayton, like, no, doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right?
Do you wait for a need to hire, or do you hire in advance with hopes that your business kind of reaches that level?
We're talking about the administrative portion.
Just all of it. Do you start creating these spaces for people to fill and filling them before there's 100% need to have the space?
Yeah.
Or are you waiting for a need? Like I didn't hire a TC until I needed a freaking TC, which was too late. So it's like, what does that fine line look like of when you actually bring these people on board?
Well, so I to answer your question, I think we hire a TC immediately, right? I mean, if you're brand new in the business, you hire a TC for $300 to $350 a transaction. Sorry, I got to plug in. And so in that case, you're hiring them before you need them, but they're on demand, right? Now, agents, sales partners, when you determine that you're going to scale, Matt, this is the easy one. If 50 of the right people walked into my office right now, of the right people, I'd find space for them. I would find space for them. Okay. So you're always hiring the right people as you start to scale. Okay. And that's how you move faster within this model. For admin, I think you have to be a little more careful. It's called, red light, green light. So you, in my opinion, John, you have to have the business. You want to be in a place where the business has a little bit of stress, but you have the financials. And I'll say this too, guys, because this was transformative for me. When I read the Total Money Makeover many, many, many years ago, I don't know that this would have worked out the way that it did if I hadn't paid off all of my personal debt, including our mortgages at the time. I just don't know that I would have had the courage to step out of production and to do all of these things. So that's a little bit of an aside there. But John, anything you want to say to Matt's question?
Yeah, so that's one of the beauties of scaling is that question gets easier and easier to answer because your manageable your changes in manageable income when you're running $1 million business versus running $100,000 business, you can say things like, that's the right person for my team, I'm going to hire them and find a spot. I used to be in banking, and Capital One is based here in Richmond, where we are, and they had a philosophy that they just hired the right people. You actually never interviewed for a job at Capital One. You always interviewed as the person, and then they would find a job if you made it through their relentless hiring process. And so that's the larger you are, the easier it is to hire just the right people. But I 100% agree with what Clayton said. You definitely start with the on-demand TC for sure, and then you create positions and you find great people for those positions. And we absolutely, over the years, we have you have people within the organization. You have to be there's a tension to manage between this person's a really good fit for the organization, but we don't have a position for them, and we have this position, but we don't have a really great fit for the organization. You can change boundaries on positions. For example, having people as squad leaders and mentors who are really just better mentors or better team captains. You can have them do both, as long as they're doing mostly the thing that they do best. You can, if you can't find somebody that can cover the other thing that they do best, then you can do that. But the larger you get, the question gets easier. Hopefully that helps, Matt.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yep. Yeah. And Shelly, it's a really good question about the split for the team leader or mentor, and then also the sign runner question. So we changed the way that we did things here because I try not to experiment because I'll go to John, or John will come to me, or I'll go to a mastermind, or I'll go to my business coach and I'll ask the question. So I'm not, and I'm assuming it's why most of you are here today. So we went from paying our team leaders a percentage of their team's production. We went from that model to a flat $2,500 bonus quarterly for the winning team. Okay, that everybody split, including the team leader. So the team leader and the rest of the team will choose to go out to a really nice dinner, or they'll just divvy up the money. The reason we did that is because it was stressing the financial model. Okay, and so why would somebody want to do it? Well, why would somebody want to sit on the ALC for Keller Williams? There's no incentive to do that. These are people that have a servant's heart. They want to lead. They're in culture, and they love it. And we don't have a shortage of people on our team that do this. And so that's what we did. Now, as far as the runner for us, that's an hourly deal, and we just pay our runner hourly. John, any differences there?
Yeah, no, the same here. I think what you just said though is a really great point. Leadership is the thing that I'm always shocked about when I ask somebody to step up and lead. And I only ask my great people to step up and lead. The thing I'm always shocked about is they never ask, how much am I going to get paid? The great ones never ask, how much am I going to get paid? And many of them, the payment is just a stipend anyway. And so however you set that up, you can set up a percentage or a flat fee on the transaction. The way that we still do it is we pay a flat fee, because what I don't have to do is what they're doing is they're taking care of frontline management for my sales manager, right? Or for me as the team leader, they're taking care of frontline management. So we do still pay a small fee per transaction for transactions that go pending when they are the team captain or the squad leader. That's the same position, team captain or squad leader. This is a person that's in production who takes care of all frontline questions after they're a new agent. The mentor is for new agents only, new agent mentor. And the new agent actually pays, in my model, the new agent pays 10% from their split to the new agent mentor on the first 3, buy side and list side. The team captain is, everybody's got a team captain unless you are a team captain. Everybody works on a team of 6 to 12 with a team captain. And that, in my model, that team captain, we pay them a small stipend per transaction that ends up being around 2% maybe of the GCI that comes from the team's side, because it's my value prop to my agents is that, hey, we're here to provide you leadership, and these team captains are providing that leadership. And we also bonus when there are multiple team captains. We bonus based on what Clayton said, and what Clayton said is, hey, listen, the winning team, by the way, production, and that's straight by production for that quarter, and that's a perfectly acceptable way to do it too once you scale. Hopefully that answers your question there, Shelley.
Been helpful. And the sign runner, pay hourly. They're using their own car to run all over town. Are you reimbursing anything for that, or how are you kind of?
We bought a van, Shelley, that just blew up, and so we had to buy a new van. And it's just one of the expenses that, right, as opposed to paying their mileage, and we just decided to buy our own. But you can certainly reimburse mileage, and should, if they're driving their own vehicle. Yeah.
That's the next thing I need. I need to just get a sign runner to take care of signs and lock boxes, especially since I now have an investor that I've got it rigged now where all the paperwork is done, even though it's under my name. Everything is just done. And I just need to add the sign runner and have them go ahead and do everybody's stuff too at the same time.
Yes.
Well,
and
what'll
I've got
happen?
a couple of really good. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. What'll happen there? We call them a field rep. Adam, I think we still call them a field rep. What will happen is you'll realize as you break out your listing process that person also can cover the four or 5 trips to the property for other things that are needed to the property. And so the amount of time saved is really huge. That position, we can talk offline about who to hire for that. It's generally going to be a student or a retiree are generally the 2 best people to hire for that position.
Got someone in mind for that, so that'll be good. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, as we wrap here, again, thank you for your time today. And we can talk about many of these topics for hours. So we'll think about what we're going to do next month. But here's the takeaway. Thinking back to 2005 when I got into this business, and the man that I was, where I was spiritually, where I was physically, where I was financially, relationally, the amount of growth that has taken place because, you know, because we just decided to go for it, has been, you can't put a price tag on that. And so as you consider kind of where you are and where you want to go, I just would encourage you to go for it. Right. It's setting a bigger target. And again, whether you're on a team or you're thinking about starting a team, it's just having a really big vision for your life is going to force you to grow. And again, that's the blessing of all of this. And so I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys so much. JT, you're amazing. Yeah. Any
Let me just say, yeah, just real quick, just another way to say the same thing. Think big and fail with velocity. Don't be afraid to fail. Like that's how we get where we're meant to go. So think big, fail with velocity. Thank you for being here. Appreciate everybody here. If there's anything we can do to help you and your business going forward, don't hesitate to reach out.
Have a great day, guys. Thank you. Thanks, JT.